that, Douglas. Sakaja was hailed. You know, when TNA was, TNA came into being, Sakaja was hailed as an example of youthful leadership making an impact.
Yeah.
He even chaired, I think, the Young Parliamentarians Association.
Oh, yes.
Before he crossed over from the cutoff is what, 35?
Right.
Is this a blow to young people? Do you think these questions that are now surrounding his credibility, his integrity?
Yes, it is. It's a big blow to youths, and the way that our politician or even our politicians are looking into this matter, it's even sad because a degree now it's more likely a paper, but you having a degree shows that you have qualified in the subject matter. But the way now the discussion that is going on, degree is just merely a paper, and that's why we are seeing people running around to get their degrees. But again, we need to look into, we need to interrogate the thoughts of the draft of the constitution when they mention that the executive, that is at the national level and county level, to have a degree. What did they have in mind when they mentioned that these four positions need to have a degree? So once we get that clear, then we'll be able to move forward swiftly. But again, my thoughts would be someone with a degree, at least they are well educated. They'll be able to, for example, in case of a president, if you go to an international level, he'll be able to discuss security, global warming, and that kind of stuff, articulate, and he'll be able to build confidence to investors. But now looking back, if because there's a perception that it's a two-horse race, Right Honorable Raila and DP Ruto. If both of them had a degree in laundry management and maybe playing guitar, those guys will be elected. But what does the degree and the function of the holders have in common? So we need to really interrogate this very critically, so that we are having leaders who, first of all, have the correct qualification and skills, and again, most importantly, they have integrity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Ascon, Douglas raises an interesting point. He says at this point a degree is just a paper.
Yeah.
Is it that is it the accreditation process that is it the accreditation process you're calling into question, Douglas?
Yeah. Now, in the case of Sakaja, he can't prove that he can't rightly prove that he went to a team university, but he has a paper, he has a degree in management.
Okay.
No, I don't know what.
Ascon.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I think we need to go back and understand the background against which this legislation was put in place. Why do we need a degree for somebody who contests for the position of governor? Or why do you need a degree for somebody who contests for the position of president? I think it's because we understand the weight of the responsibilities in these specific offices. And also that brings me to this idea that a degree is just a paper. It has been a conversation that people have been having all over, where you'd realize you'd see somebody who has a degree in electrical engineering in a conversation with somebody who doesn't have one, and probably the other one has more money, and they'll be throwing shades at the person. No, you could be having the degree, but I have more money. So degree is just a paper. But this is going to set an example that truly degree is not just a paper. We have to look at the fact that a degree speaks to the content of knowledge of an individual. That really, if you have a degree in a specific discipline, you are considered to be an authority in that discipline. If you have an academic qualification in a specific area, then the country can rely on you to give solutions based on that. So we have to also, while we consider that degree is a qualification given by the law, and I think that is just a guideline that the law has given, that if you're contesting for governor, you should have a degree in a specific discipline. But the idea behind it is that once you have that degree, you are able to understand issues differently. And no wonder even the Constitution at some point, or the laws at some point, were proposing that degrees are given to, degree becomes a requirement for everybody contesting at the MCA level, contesting at the parliamentary level, contesting at whatever the level. And for me, I think that was very fundamental. However populist it would have been to scrap it off, it was very fundamental. Consider that an MCA will be undertaking responsibilities similar to that of a member of parliament. These are people who do legislation. making of laws. These laws are interpreted by lawyers who have to go through 4 years, of training and 2 years of further advocates training program. These laws are adjudicated by judges and magistrates who equally have to be, very well grounded on issues of law. Then why should the very people who make the laws that are interpreted by very intelligent people be people who do not have that capacity?
Okay.
These are some of the things that we need to look at. While it is populist to tell people that really anybody can be a leader, we must also look at the responsibilities of these leaders. An MCA who is supposed to oversight a governor, the governor is demanded to have a degree. Why should the MCA who oversights the responsibilities or the actions of the governor be somebody who does not understand what the governor did?
Okay.
If we are going to table the auditor's report that speaks to the issues of pilferage of funds, these things are supposed to be tabled in an assembly of MCAs. These MCAs must have the capacity to interrogate these documents, question those who are culpable, and make proper reports. They cannot do this just by shouting and fighting and the push and pull that we see every day.
Okay.
And that also speaks to our Kenya Kwanza and counterparts and
Now
how.
that you have
Just a
mentioned
minute.
them.
No.
Now that you
Allow
have
me to build this so that he can
mentioned
respond. There's something I'd like to say here so that they can respond. Kenya Kwanza has been a cocktail of people with questionable credentials. You look at William Ruto. He would want to say,
wait.
just a minute.
Wait,
He will
we'll
respond.
come to
He will
Raila and
respond.
Ruto and their degrees. But first, speak for the hustlers, Maina. He talked about the intent being that even MPs and MCAs should be degree holders.
Right.
Is it Murkomen who extended the suspension
Because he
of
knew he was
that?
shielding his colleagues, his friends.
So is it the hustler position that this degree requirement is not what imperative to leadership?
I think I will speak from a personal perspective and also from what I would say is generally the public perception in regards to these papers. Yes, it is right to have the correct papers or to be qualified in terms academically before you hold a public office. But we must look at leadership not just from the academic point of view. There is too much into leadership. I think when you are electing a leader, before even you look at the academic credentials, you should look at a leader from the point of integrity, as my sister was talking about here. You should look at a leader from how responsible they are to the people. Because you can elect somebody who is educated or in a position of leadership, but that person will be serving private interests. So we need to look at leadership from a broader perspective, and we look at it from how responsible are these leaders in terms of serving the people. You must look at a person, or you must elect a leader from the point of his heart or her heart to the people, not somebody who you elect, like the case of the Azimio candidate for governor in Nairobi. You elect somebody whose interest is not the people, but interest of the elite and the oligarchs who have put him in power. So when you elect such a person...
what would be the basis of that assertion? But before we get into that, Sylvia, I don't need to be overrun by this gentleman. What do you say about is it a degree just a paper?
It's not just a paper, but in some instances it can be. So I think there are two sides to the coin. First is, like you said, Olive, is that not everyone has a degree. Let's start there. So it might be discriminatory to part of the population. If you look at the 2019 census, the Kenya KNBS census in 2019, only 1.2 million Kenyans have degrees. And that comes to about 3.5% of the population. And 25% of this are actually in Nairobi. So what about the rest of the country? We have to think about that. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, like he said, you have to think about the kind of person who's managing these resources. Especially for the president, the county governor, these are people who are not only implementing county and national legislation, but they're also managing county administration, national administration. So the degree would be a critical requirement in that regard, and they would be able to leverage on that to be able to conduct and undertake their functions effectively. If we look at, just to give an example, while MPs and MCAs do not have that requirement currently, you'll find that if we look at the performance of members of parliament, if I can say, those who have had degrees, especially in their areas of specialization, you find that certain members of parliament are very good in their legislative work because of the kind of backgrounds they have.